Most rappers that are from the streets continue to break the law even after fame. Here's a list of rappers getting long prison sentences and the reason why. 42 Dugg. Now the newest rapper arrest is 42 Dugg. The famous rap lawyer posted this video to his Instagram after 42 Dugg was arrested by the feds.
Did the back and forth between 42 Dugg and Tekashi 6ix9ine cause the feds to escalate their pursuit of 42 Dugg? I would actually say absolutely yes. Let me explain this to you. March 12th is when 42 Dugg was supposed to report to the federal prison. It wasn't until April 29th that the feds actually went out and started looking for him. What happened on April 26th and April 27th? The Dugg and Tekashi 6ix9ine internet exchange about starting a boxing.
Now this entire situation started when 42 Dugg reacted to 6ix9ine pulling up on Lil Perkio, otherwise known as Lil Durk's twin. 42 Dugg says, "I hate when people do stuff to good people. Rap people involving white boys and street stuff. People be lames and could have pulled up on so many other people, but they decide to pull up on a kid with nothing to do with nothing. Y'all can never expect non-street people to understand the streets. These people running up, trying to ruin his life, knowing a real man would spit on you." Now 6ix9ine actually responded to him on Instagram Live. 6ix9ine says, "I would smack the fire out of you 42 Dugg. Let's get in a hotel room, just me and you, and let's see what happens. I show proof that I don't have security." Now with them beefing back and forth, this obviously went viral online, and with Tekashi 6ix9ine still technically being a federal informant from his time snitching in court on his old street team known as 9 Trey, the feds got involved. Now when 6ix9ine gets into any beef online, the feds are quick to look over it. Now this is what triggered the 42 Dugg manhunt, resulting in his arrest, as news outlets reported that 42 Dugg failed to surrender himself into jail. A manhunt was then created by a special forces police team to find the Detroit rapper, as the rapper was supposed to serve a 6-month prison sentence. Now sadly, 42 Dugg ducking law enforcement, his new prison sentence now may be up to 5 years. Next up is Young Thug. Now on the night of May 9th, 2022, it was reported breaking. Rappers Young Thug and Gunna, among 28 defendants, were charged in a 56-count indictment in Fulton County. The 56-count grand jury indictment charges 28 members and associates of Young Slime Life, known as YSL. The indictment includes charges of conspiracy to violate the racketeer influenced and corrupted organizations, otherwise known as the RICO Act, as well as armed robbery and participation in criminal street activity. Now News TV captured this exclusive image of authorities taking Young Thug into custody earlier this evening, as well as this video being attached to the documents showing Young Thug's house being raided. Now, according to the 56-count indictment, Young Thug is facing charges of participation in street activity and conspiring to violate the racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organization known as RICO Act. Gunna is facing 1 count of conspiring to violate RICO. After reviewing the 88-page indictment, there are very serious allegations against Young Thug. In the courtroom, prosecutors say that YSL is a criminal street team started in late 2012 in the Cleveland Avenue area of Atlanta. YSL claims affiliation with the National Red. YSL's founder were Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug, aka Slime, then Walter Murphy, aka DK, then Trontavious Stevens, aka Tick. Now Young Thug is accused of renting a 2014 Infiniti Q50 sedan from the company known as Hertz. Now this was used in the commission of the passing of Donovan Thomas Jr., a rival street member, on January 10th, 2015, according to the indictment. Now, prosecutors allege the two associates of YSL, Christian and Antonio, worked to get permission of Young Thug to make a second attempt on YFN Lucci while he was being jailed in Fulton County. Prosecutors say that Sergio Kitchens, known as Gunna, an associate of YSL, is accused of appearing in a video released on social media titled Fox 5 wearing a YSL pendant and a slap pendant, with lyrics stating, "We got 1,000 rounds." If Young Thug is found guilty for the RICO Act, he may be spending the rest of his life in prison. Next rapper on the list is YNW Melly. After hit songs such as Mixed Personalities and Blue Balenciagas were released, YNW Melly was arrested. Currently, YNW Melly is the main suspect in the case of YNW Juvie in YNW Sack Chaser's passing. In the court documents, it states that on October 26th, on roughly 3:30 a.m., YNW Melly was leaving a recording studio with YNW Bortland, Sack Chaser, and Juvie. All four rappers hopped inside of their Jeep and started driving home. YNW Bortland, being the driver of the vehicle, had YNW Melly sitting directly behind him. That leaves Sack Chaser and Juvie both sitting on the opposite side of the Jeep. While driving home, YNW Bortland drove the vehicle into a parking lot located on a side street. With the vehicle sitting in park for roughly 30 minutes, law enforcement believes that YNW Bortland created a distraction inside of the car. Meanwhile, YNW Melly did the act towards both Sack Chaser and Juvie. Now, with the vehicle sitting in park for roughly 30 minutes, GPS evidence showed YNW Melly stepping out of his Jeep, walking around it in a very mysterious circle twice before hopping back in. Now, the theory is that YNW Melly stepped out of the vehicle and used his firearm towards it, making it appear as if they just went through a drive-by by a rival street team. After some time passed, YNW Bortland then drove Sack Chaser and Juvie to the local hospital for medical attention. Meanwhile, on the same GPS evidence, YNW Melly was seen sprinting home on foot and not talking to anyone. Now, here's where it gets very strange. A few hours after the incident happened, the passing of both YNW Sack Chaser and Juvie just hit news headlines. Now, as reported by Complex, they stated a new piece of evidence saying there is one Instagram exchange that took place hours after the passings, which was obtained by Complex via a public records request. In it, YNW Melly's Instagram account says, "I did that," in one message, followed 2 minutes later by another message saying, "Shh." Now, the timing of these Instagram DMs are going to be used by the state to make the case that those messages amount to an admission of YNW Melly's guilt. A few messages later, the man on the IG burner account messages YNW Melly again, telling him, "Hey, there's a Sig 9 on the market." The state will likely assume that a Sig 9 is slang for some sort of firearm on the streets. Now, YNW Melly replied to this message saying, "I want it." Now, law enforcement will try to match the firearm shells that were found at the scene of the crime to what they believe is a Sig 9. This evidence will result in YNW Melly being sentenced to life in prison, if he is found guilty, of course. Next rapper is Pooh Shiesty. Now, while Shiesty was starting to get major attention in the rap world, he met two individuals inside of a parking lot. Shiesty is seen driving a bright green McLaren sports car, wanting to pick up high-end sneakers as well as narcotics from two individuals that he met on Instagram DMs. While discussing the prices of these goods with the two men, Pooh Shiesty was seen on video surveillance from across the street, pulling a firearm out of his waistband and using it towards these two men. After hitting one in the hip and the other one in the backside, Shiesty was then seen hopping back into his all-green McLaren with the goods. Now, while trying to make a quick getaway, a Louis Vuitton bag fell out of his McLaren and it was left at the scene. Pooh Shiesty immediately went to the nearest airport, rented a private jet, and flew right out of there before law enforcement even had the chance of arresting him. Now, without realizing, Pooh Shiesty just committed an armed robbery right beside a police station, as the video surveillance you see here on screen was recorded by a local police station security camera. Not to mention, Pooh Shiesty posted a selfie on his official Instagram with the exact same McLaren he just did an armed robbery in on the same day. Now, Now, the Louis Vuitton bag holding $40,000 in cash also made him extremely guilty, as Shiesty uploaded several photos to his Instagram of him doing the money stretch across his body deal. Now, the feds, they downloaded these photos and were able to match the serial number on one of the bills with one of the bills found in the Louis Vuitton bag, proving that it is Pooh Shiesty's bag and $40,000 in cash. Now, Pooh Shiesty has already admitted guilt in court for this case. He will be sitting inside a prison until 2026. Now, this leaves arguably the most interesting rapper court case that I've ever seen. Next up is Lil Durk. Now, a judge just announced from his 2019 case involving King Von that there is new evidence found against the Chicago rapper. Now, the case begins in 2019. Rappers Lil Durk and King Von were out in Atlanta at a restaurant called The Varsity. Law enforcement claim they have video evidence of Lil Durk using a firearm towards an individual named Alexander Witherspoon. This was after Durk and King Von snatched his chain and, according to police, stole $30,000 cash from him. Now, the official police records claim that the two rappers were at a recording studio throughout the night. Once their session was complete, they hop out of the studio and head over to the local gas station before heading over to the Varsity for late night dinner. While walking up to the Varsity, they noticed a man standing in the parking lot, known as Alexander Witherspoon. Once they noticed him standing beside his vehicle, Lil Durk and King Von were then seen sprinting to the side of the restaurant. This is where the two rappers decided on a plan on what to do while putting up their hoods of their sweaters. They then start sprinting over towards Alexander Witherspoon. A small conversation allegedly started before Lil Durk and King Von started going at Witherspoon, robbing him for his diamond chain and $30,000 cash that he was holding. Now, after snatching his chain and taking the money, while in the process of it all going down, Alexander's car keys fell out of his pockets. This is where one of the two rappers then proceeded to pick them up and then hop inside of his vehicle. The other rapper was then seen hopping into the passenger seat. Now, when driving away, video footage caught one of the two rappers' arms sticking out of the window, using a firearm towards Witherspoon while he was laying on the ground. They then drove the vehicle away from the scene, ditched it on a side street, and that vehicle was then found by police the next day. Now, Lil Durk and King Von were both arrested fairly quick. Lil Durk turned himself into jail and then released his hit song Turn Myself In, claiming that he is innocent in this case and will get through it with no issues. A judge then granted Durk and Von bond in this case, Durk's bond being $250,000, with conditions that he is not allowed near firearms and can't have contact with anyone involved in the case. Now, this court case has been on hold for the longest time, but with new evidence being released, apparently making Lil Durk look very guilty. If he is found guilty, he'll be looking at 10+ years inside a prison.